we're going to have our big get-together on tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at the Grand Tree in the Highlight Room. We hope you can make it, and if you would RSVP us at kmmsam.com. Go to the What's Hot bar, look for an evening of Tom and Shane, and click on that, and it'll take you to a nice brief form. All I need is your name and how many people are going to be there. So that'll help us finalize the seating for tomorrow night, and we're pretty excited to get that underway. So we hope all of you will come out and see us and have a good time. We'll answer questions or do whatever we want, and the listeners and guests can meet each other, and you can put faces with voices and all of that. So we hope everyone will show up for that. So we're pretty excited about getting that going. So by all means, we are happy with that. So we hope everybody will come on down and have a good time with us. So. Let's get rocking and rolling here. Let's see, Gallatin Valley weather. We're looking sunny today, high of 83. No real rain or anything in the forecast. It's going to be pretty nice out. And tonight we're looking for clear with a low around 52, and winds will be variable, but maybe 20 miles an hour, but nothing serious. And for our event tomorrow, sunny with a high of 86 and calm winds. And then Friday night, there is a 20% chance of rain after 7 o'clock, but mostly cloudy and low around 60 tomorrow night. So we're looking forward to that. And the rest of the week looks really good. Starting on Saturday, 84 degrees, and it's going to be 52 will be the overnight low. AM clouds and PM sun, and it's going to be sunny on Sunday, 79 degrees, darn near perfect weather. 50 degrees will be the overnight low on Sunday. And then moving into your commute back to work, we'll have a little bit of shower activity in the evening, but nothing to be worried about. Will be 83 will be the high on Monday. 52 the overnight low, and the rest of the week is all in the 80s and mostly sunny all days. So pretty nice forecast for the end of July here and the 1st of August. Livingston is 50 degrees right now. Manhattan is 46 and clear. Three Forks is 45. Bozeman is, I guess we'll tell you what Bozeman is in a minute. Gateway is 50. Ennis is 46. Big Sky is 47. At the airport in Belgrade, it's 48 degrees right now, and it's 51 at our downtown studios at 9 minutes after the hour. So that's your weather for today, and a pretty nice forecast we're looking at. Looking at this day in history, well, we're not going to have Shane to comment on all the all the things that go on today, but we'll run through them anyway. There's a couple interesting things that happened today. One that's not even remotely important, 1593, France's King Henry IV converted from Protestantism to Roman Catholicism, easy for me to say. And maybe I'll ask the God Squad about if they're aware that Henry IV converted to Roman Catholic from Protestant. On this date in 1868, Congress passed an act creating the Wyoming Territory, and we were not far behind there. 1952, on this date, Puerto Rico became a self-governing commonwealth with the United States. And big news in Puerto Rico right now, of course, is that the president there, or whatever they call him, the prime minister or whoever runs Puerto Rico, the governor, resigned, I guess, last night. And everybody was cheering in the streets about that. He made some pretty nasty remarks about folks he was governing, and they asked him to, here's the door, get out. And he did. So we'll see what's going on there. There are also, from the hurricane, there was a bunch of corruption going on there. Money sent for the cleanup of Puerto Rico, and a lot of it went to, well, shall we say, unscrupulous contractors and other people or whatever. And I remember that Ziggy had a company here in Montana that was going to go down there and fix the electrical, and everybody said, "Oh, that's not a good deal." And well, in hindsight, it might have been better if we sent that group down there than the way things turned out. And the mayor, of course, and Trump have been on each other's hit list for quite a while. But the governor resigning kind of puts a new light on Puerto Rico and the hurricanes and whatever that went on down there. So. Well, in 1956, the Italian liner Andrea Doria collided with the Swedish ship Stockholm off the New England coast, claiming the lives of 51 people. And you just wouldn't think the two ships would collide. I mean, it's hard to turn them, obviously. You know, you can't always get them turned around or whatever, but to slam into each other hard enough to kill 51 people, that's a pretty good smack, I would say. And in 1965, wow, Bob Dylan shocked his fans at the Newport Folk Festival by playing electric guitar, and that was a big deal back then. Bob Dylan, as most of you remember, was a folk singer of the time. Folk singing back in that era was pretty big. Peter, Paul, and Mary, and a bunch of other groups back in the early 60s and whatever, that folk music was really big at the time. And a lot of people thought, man, Dylan sold out playing an electric guitar. That was a sellout at the time for those folk people because they all played the acoustic guitars and things like that. And boy, a lot of people walked out of that festival. He was booed unmercifully for selling out his craft by playing an electric guitar. 1975, the musical The Chorus Line opened on Broadway, famous play from that era, and thousands of performances, was there for forever, movie made of it, of course. And in 1978, the first baby conceived by in vitro fertilization was born in Oldham, England. And we had test tube babies at the time, things like that going on. And this was the first one by in vitro fertilization in England. And in 1984, a Soviet cosmonaut, this is one of my favorite names, Svetlana Savitskaya. Russians certainly do have some great names, but Svetlana Savitskaya became the first woman to walk in space, and we all remember that. That was a big deal back in 1984, and her name was synonymous with the space program and all of that, and she was the first woman to walk in space. In 1994, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Jordan's King Hussein signed a declaration at the White House ending their country's 46th state of war. And that was certainly a big deal with Jordan and Israel finally coming to peace. Israel had done that a few years before, but they had been at it for 46 years and finally signed a declaration and been pretty peaceful between those countries, between Jordan and Egypt and Israel for quite a few years. So good for them. Well, in 2000, Texas Governor George W. Bush selected Dick Cheney to be his running mate on the Republican presidential ticket, and that was certainly quite a big deal at the time. That Cheney, of course, had been a big deal with Halliburton, sold off his stock to an all interest in Halliburton to become the vice president. Probably a nice payday for him, but not an uncontroversial guy. Certainly, Cheney was a war hawk and very adamant in when he did speak, but for the most part, he was pretty much AWOL for the 8 years that Bush was in office. You didn't hear much from Dick Cheney, but every once in a while, when he did say something, it did generate news headlines in most cases. So, And in 2008, California became the first state to ban trans fats from restaurant food. And of course, they've been at it ever since. Probably heard that Berkeley has decided that no more manhole covers. They'll be, I don't know, sewer lids, maybe. I'm not sure what they're going to call them, but they've, no more manhood, mankind, manholes. No references to that anymore in Berkeley. So I don't know. They're pretty nuts over there, but what can I tell you? All right, we got to take a break here, take care of our ranchers and farmers, truck drivers, cab drivers, whoever brings you food and booze and clothing and all of that stuff. So we'll be right back right after the Montana news in agriculture coming up right now. 23 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 51 degrees outside. Tommy Galoff, your morning mayor in the house. This is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane is not here today. He is traveling to Bozeman. He will be here on the air with me tomorrow at 6 a.m., and we'll both be at the Grand Tree at 6 p.m. tomorrow night for an evening with Tom and Shane. We hope that you will join us there, and it'll be a fun evening, and we'll do some stuff and maybe give some stuff away. Who knows? I don't know. I'll see if I can find some KMMS T-shirts around here somewhere. But at any rate, we're gonna have a good time. We hope you will join us, meet some of the other listeners, meet the callers, meet the guests, and meet us. And we'll have a fine time tomorrow night. So again, that's 6 p.m. We'll be in the highlight room in the Grand Tree. That's in the convention center part on the west side of the Grand Tree, around on the back side. Plenty of parking back there. And we hope that you will join us for getting together tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. And we'll be there. And we would like for you to RSVP if you would go to KMMSAM.com or AM 1450 KMMS on your smartphone and look for the What's Hot bar, and you'll see an evening with Tom and Shane. Click on that, and that will take you to a little form that just need a name and how many people are going to be there so that we can make sure we got adequate seating for everybody. And we'll have tables and all of that, so you can sit there comfortably and chat with each other and us, and it should be a fine time. So we hope you'll turn out for that tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. for an evening with Tom and Shane. Our poll question of the day: did the Mueller testimony change your mind? And early voting right now, 91% said no. That Mueller seemed off his game. Nobody said yes. I thought he was credible. And so that's where we are with the early voting in today's poll. Yesterday, we asked, will the Mueller testimony change anything? And 72% of you said no, the witch hunt will continue. 16% of you said it will create more questions. And 2%, or 5% rather, said no, the hunt will end. And 2.7% said Trump is guilty. So that's where we were with our poll from yesterday. So again, our poll today: did the Mueller testimony change your mind? And right now, 91% said no. That Mueller seemed off his game, and I thought the same thing. Watching, obviously, we were on the air when a lot of it went on, but watching some of it later, it was, we had one caller called in that was very adamant that there was something definitely wrong with Mueller. And after seeing some of his testimony, his confusion, didn't seem to know his own report at all. And it was painful to watch, and unfortunately, this guy's younger than I am, and I don't know. I know I'm not ready for prime time and the big time yet, but certainly, I don't know that I stumble and stammer as much as he did. Now, I do have my moments, that's for sure. But he seemed really off his game yesterday. And that was it's sad. You have a guy with this kind of history, FBI director, war hero, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, served in Vietnam. And boy, to have that as his swan song is really sad. I think the Democrats did him a big disservice of forcing him to come in there. He didn't want to. He gave his gave that little press conference that was also kind of confusing, but they're convinced that he had all the answers, and they had touted him for 2 years as the gold standard of integrity and everything else. And boy, it didn't turn out well for them. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on with Tom Only. What's up?
Hey, Tom Only. How you doing?
Good.
Robert Mueller is a master interrogator.
Well, he may be, but he's not a master question answerer.
Well, you got to think about it in the right light. If he's a master interrogator, he also then must be a master at the opposite end of that. He would be a master at being interrogated as well. And, and when they asked Hillary Clinton if she wiped her server, and she's like, what do you mean? Like with a cloth or something? Or what
I remember that.
And so she plays stupid, and you got to sell that.
Yeah.
You got to sell that. And that's all Mueller was doing. The funny thing is, he told Democrats, I don't want to testify, and they forced him to go in there and do that. And I think this was probably his way of saying, I'm done, it's over. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want anything to do with it. But that was all a show put on by him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think he was faking that 100% all the way.
Well, he didn't make himself look good, I don't think, but you may be right. He certainly didn't answer a lot of questions, and he did stick to the report pretty much.
But now the reality of it is this.
Real quick, because I got 30 seconds. Go for it.
Who in the hell would hire someone so inept to run an investigation like that?
Yeah.
Nobody. I mean, so it was an act. I'm sure of it. All right, talk to you later.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. All right. All right, we got to duck out and pay a couple of bills. We've got the Montana State News. We got Fox News. We've got Brooke Foster Weather. We got Gesundheit this week is here, and Charter, and a bunch of other things. So Peter's Painting and all of those folks. So stay tuned. I'll be back right after the news. 22 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 51 degrees outside. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And Shane is on his way here. He'll be live with me in studio tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So we wish him safe travels coming from Vancouver. And, of course, tomorrow night at 6 p.m., we are both going to be at the Grand Tree at the Highlight Room. We hope you will join us. And please RSVP to KMMSAM.com. Look on the What's Hot bar for an evening with Tom and Shane. And let us know how many people are coming so we can have adequate seating for you. And we're looking forward to meeting everybody. You get to be some of the listeners. And it's sort of like a class reunion, I guess, the KMMS class of 2019. So we hope everybody will turn out for us, and we will have a good time there. Well, we were talking about Robert Mueller. This guy was the gold standard, according to the Democrats, for 2.5 years. He was going to get to the bottom of the Trump-Russia collusion and all of that. And boy, it seemed when the report came out, of course, nobody gave much credence to the report. They wanted the unredacted parts, and nobody seemed to want to go in and read it. And I don't know, it went on and on and on. And Mueller even came out and did a little press conference and said, there's nothing I could do to exonerate the president, which is not his job. His job is not to prove anyone innocent. His job as a prosecutor is to find guilt and refer that guilt to the Department of Justice, which he did not do. Now, he did put some things in there that Jennifer Bordy and I have covered before, when the report first came out, there were 10 possible obstructions of justice, and even Jennifer didn't put a whole lot of faith in those 10 things, and none of those 10 things have risen to the level of impeachment, certainly, and they've been pretty well dismissed by people in law who know law by ever since the report came out. So and Gerald Nadler, this guy is certainly a piece of work. He kind of forced Mueller into doing this, and that was evident yesterday. Mueller wanted to be anywhere but there, I think, and as one of the callers said, well, it may have just been an act. He didn't answer. I think it was over 100 times that he said, I can't answer that or won't answer that or whatever. And many times he asked to have the question repeated, couldn't find the references. Even admitted that he wasn't familiar with what the GPS, Fusion GPS. Couldn't get it. Couldn't find it for a minute. Let's take some phone calls while I collect myself here. Caller, you are on the air. Thanks for calling. What's up? All right, let's go over here. Caller, you're on the air. What's up?
Good morning, Tom. This is Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Thanks for going solo.
Yeah. I feel naked here. I don't.
Yeah, it's tough without your co-pilot. Huh?
It is tough. Yeah. Well, that just shows how important he is to the show.
Absolutely. Tom, I have a question.
Sure.
Exactly what was in Mr. Mueller's purview? There seemed to be a lot that wasn't in. It was not in his purview. I would like to know exactly what was in his purview.
Well, I don't think he made that very clear. Do you?
Well, the only thing you can conclude is that what was in his purview were people like Manafort, Flynn, things that weren't related to the actual investigation that he was supposed to be heading up. And besides that, his staff was nothing but a bunch of Clintonistas and Obamaites, and people. If you use the expression, part of the deep state, in my opinion. Those were. I don't think he even wrote the report, to tell you the truth.
Well, it wouldn't seem like it.
I think
from his reaction to not knowing who Fusion GPS is seems.
Right.
That seems really off the charts, being uninformed, totally uninformed.
Right. Well, and if I'm not mistaken, the whole basis behind this investigation was that Fusion GPS report.
Yeah.
That dossier.
Well, that's what should have started the whole thing, and he was saying, well, that was 10 months before me, so I guess it was immaterial.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know what the thinking is, but I agree with you. I think the 14 people that he had, helping him out with this, the attorneys saying, "Hey, we're not going anywhere near the Clintons, so let's just put that aside and let's concentrate on Trump and the Russians."
I think the American public really can see through all of this right now, and I feel sorry for all these Democrats who are still trying to go out and get this president. It's a real shame.
Well, Nadler's not stopping. Schiff's not stopping.
They won't. No, they won't. You're absolutely right, Tom. They're going to continue this all the way through the next election.
Well, they're convinced that Mueller convinced them. But I don't know. So.
I don't think he convinced a majority of the American public. That's for sure.
Certainly anybody that watched it was I think headed. May have. Well, our poll question today: did this change your mind? And I don't think many people did. They went in with, this report's not going to put dinner on anybody's table. It's not going to get you a job. It's not going to make your life any better.
That's for sure.
Right. So let's go with infrastructure and healthcare and other stuff that'll at least help people.
That's more important than these hearings.
That's for sure, man. What a waste of time, and $20 million gone. So.
Or probably more than that. You don't know.
Probably is. Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey, all right, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
See you tomorrow night.
All right. Looking forward to meeting you. All right. We got to duck out or pay a couple of bills. We'll be right back. 13 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 51 degrees outside. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane is on his way here to Bozeman, and not on with me this morning, but he will be here tomorrow at 6 a.m. live and in person on the air in the studio. And then, of course, at 6 p.m., we will head out to the Grand Tree, the highlight room out there, and meet the listeners. And we hope that you will join us out there. We asked that you RSVP, if you would, go to KMMSAM.com or your AM 1450 KMMS app and click on the What's Hot bar there, and you'll see Evening with Tom and Shane. And let us know how many people are coming so we can have adequate seating for you. And we look so far from the RSVPs, we're going to have a pretty full room, so we are excited about that. And we hope that you'll enjoy meeting the other listeners and the callers, and so we'll have some of the guests there, and we'll have a great time. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you and meeting you and getting your comments, quibbles, complaints, whatever that anything we can do to make the show better for you, we'd like to hear about it. Coming up at 7 o'clock, Mike McCormick will join me. Mike couldn't make it in yesterday, so he's going to come in at 7 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock we'll have the God Squad, so I just have to make it through another 15-minute solo here before I'll get some guests in here to help us out. So, and then, as I mentioned earlier, Shane will be with me the full 3 hours tomorrow morning on Friday, and we'll be out at the Grand Tree at 6 in the evening. So, let's see. Let's take a phone call. See what's going on with the listeners. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and not Shane. What's up?
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning,
Dave.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
It's a beautiful day in Bozeman.
Amen.
I just wanted to talk. This is way off the typical subject matter, but last week I was about ready to commit suicide. I hear a report that the new James Bond is going to be a woman. And,
I heard that, and not, and I don't want to shame anybody here, but she's not a very attractive woman. What was Halle Berry busy or what?
I don't know, but my dad took me to Goldfinger when I was about 12 years old.
Best Bond movie ever.
And I was enamored. This James Bond thing has always been kind of a kick for me to go to. Every 3 or 4 years, a new movie would come out, and I'd wait with bated breath to see what was going to happen. And now we got this, so the chickification just continues.
Yeah, when let's see, when Roger Craig came along, which I think is the worst Bond choice ever. He's too short. I don't know. He's not. He's not the guy that when you check into the hotel, the girl behind the counter is going to watch him walk up the stairs. That just ain't going to happen.
Right.
And he's not going to slap anybody on the butt like he did in Goldfinger. To dig.
Yeah.
Come on, this is ridiculous.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to vent. I've been a
I don't blame
Montana conservative dude all my life, and now we got this. So,
I remember when I was in college, and 3 of us went down to, this movie's on down here. We didn't know what the hell it was, and it was Dr. No, and we're sitting there saying, man, that was a pretty good movie. This guy's pretty cool. We want to be like him.
Yeah.
So we went back and started slapping girls on the butt.
Well, I don't know.
Of course, you could do that in the 60s. You can't do it today.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
But anyway, I agree with you. I think, man, oh, man, I think this is going to bomb badly.
Yeah.
Halle Berry I could take, but I don't know.
Well, she wasn't
exactly 007.
No, I know that, but I mean, she might be able to carry it off. I mean, she was Catwoman, you know.
Yeah,
yeah. So I don't know, but anyway.
I listen to you almost daily. So.
Well, good. Well, we go see you Friday night.
I'm going to try to come.
All right. Well, good. Well, I hope you can.
I've had a really busy week, so I need a down day, but we'll see.
Well, this will be a real downer for you, I'm sure. Shane and I, come on, Shane and I together. What could be more down than that?
Well, I have these pictures in my mind of what Shane looks like.
Oh yeah.
Well, so sometimes it's just curiosity more than.
Yeah, we'll look like Penn and Teller.
Okay. All right, you take care. Tom.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Bye.
All right. I got to take a quick break here. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It is 6 minutes before the top of the hour. Coming up at 7 o'clock, Mike McCormick will join us, and the God Squad will be in at 8 o'clock. And one of the things we're going to talk about is you may have seen the opinion piece in the paper a few days ago, the 5 rabbis that wrote about Senator Daines, and Daines, I guess, is going to meet with them and discuss anti-Semitism and racism and xenophobia and all the catch buzzwords we've got going on. So we'll be chatting with them about that. Let's take a quick phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning, Pete.
Well, I had a good time yesterday listening to the hypocrites and the nattering nabobs of negativity. But, 200 times and I didn't count, somebody else counted. 200 times that this was outside of Mueller's purview, or I can't go there. I'm not going to wade in those waters.
Yeah.
You name it. But if you remember when the supposed investigation, which I said a long time ago there was no investigation, and there wasn't. How many times during the investigation did we hear from the Democrats that Mueller can go anywhere his investigation leads him?
Well, that's what I wrote a blog about it. There's whatever law he's using, kind of, he could have blamed Trump for the Civil War under the guidelines of that directive.
Right. And he wasn't very, very impressive. I mean, he just wasn't, you know. I mean,
yeah, I pointed out he's younger than me. What's he going to be like when he's my age?
Yeah, he's in bad shape. But was Mueller, and I asked myself some questions about exoneration. I said, was Mueller exonerated of running a witch hunt? My answer to that one was yes, because there was no investigation, and he certainly didn't have any part of any investigation if there was an investigation. So he's exonerated for that. Was CNN exonerated for fake news? No. Were the Dems exonerated of abusing a senior citizen? No. Because in my eyes, that's what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a difficult thing to watch.
And
I don't know which one was worse, Naders or Schiff's. But
well, they certainly wanted to make sure they got their points in right off the bat. And everybody keeps saying there's no exoneration.
Right.
That's not Mueller's job. He can't exonerate or call him guilty. Either one. If he has reason that the crime was committed, he presents that to the Attorney General and goes on from there.
I didn't know how many times. Well, twice yesterday he said that, and we heard this from we've heard this from the Dems since 9/11. Okay, the different agencies need to share information on foreign interference in our elections. Well, they ought to read their own rules and regulations and laws that they write, because the CIA and the FBI, before the Patriot Act, weren't allowed to talk to each other.
Yeah.
The CIA is not supposed to operate in this country, which we all know they do.
Sure.
And they have since before Vietnam, but big time during Vietnam. They ran, what was the number? I think it was over 50% of the underground newspapers during Vietnam with the weathermen and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That they ran like 50% of those underground newspapers
Yeah.
that were around in those days were run by the CIA. And they got caught. It was no big...
Slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, it wasn't even that.
Yeah.
They didn't get anything. But
A pat on the wrist, maybe.
Yeah. I think my advice to the Democrats is keep your eyes open and watch what's going to happen now. Because you had your turn in the sandbox, and now somebody else is going to have their turn, and I don't think they're going to like what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things that he said he wouldn't talk about, or he can't talk about them because there's investigations going on.
True. Whether or not they'll provide anything more than his report did is...
I'll tell you what,
the jury's
Tom,
still out on that, you know.
Yeah, I think Barr has got himself between a rock and a hard place here.
I'd agree.
I mean, I really do, because if the real truth, if all the truth comes out, and there's 3 judges that are saying you need to release this stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to release it all because you're playing games. We're going to release it all. And I think what Barr is worried about is if the entire truth comes out, this country may catch on fire.
Well, let's hope not, but I got to go, Pete. Sorry.
Okay.
All right,
Have a
man.
good one.
Thanks. All right. From our text line, Mueller's investigation has cost about $25 million and issued more than 100 criminal complaints against dozens of people, including 6 Trump advisors. Officials in jail. It's brought an estimated $48 million from tax evasion. Trump golf trips cost $100 million, 4 times what the 4 times that. So you make the call. All right, we'll be back with Mike McCormick coming up next. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m., Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 54 degrees outside. A little cool out there, Michael.
It is chilly. Our heat went on this morning.
I know.
Now, of course, we had every window in the house open, but it was hot last night.
It was hot last night.
It was like, okay,
yeah.
we know what to do. It's late July, almost August. You open them at night, you close. The heat was on.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah,
Bad news.
Climate change. It's on me. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah, it's your fault.
Open the windows, turn the heat on.
Mike McCormick joining us. McCormick Financial Advisors is here. And,
I am here on a Thursday morning, normally Wednesday.
Wednesday at 8, but you're here. So some people that don't normally hear you that are at work at 8 get to hear you today. So.
That's right. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe.
Well, we've been talking about Mueller's testimony yesterday, and this impeachment and everything doesn't seem to be affecting the markets at all.
No, this is a non-event.
Yeah.
I think it's. I'm sort of simplistic when I look at the hype news and politics in general. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm shallow, you could say, or simplistic might be the optimistic version. Yeah. But it's just noise. We're not going to impeach a president. This is political posturing. What he did, what he didn't do is about as interesting to me as whatever Hillary's email dispute was about it. I really didn't care. The markets don't care.
Well, as I said, it's not going to put food on your table. It's not going to get you a job.
It's interesting, and I'm not saying it's not relevant, but it's not relevant to what I do, which is help people protect and grow money.
Right. Yeah.
With as little risk as possible.
But they are tied together. Politics and the markets generally. I think we've seen a dramatic increase in the market since Trump was elected that nobody expected.
For sure, without a doubt.
Now whether he's directly responsible for it or not, or whether he's created an atmosphere of positive input.
I think that's pretty much not disputable. Is that he coming in as a pro-business president, as a Republican president, and then the deregulation efforts that he led across certain industries was pro-business, pro-growth, pro-earnings, pro-money. And I think we've seen that. I think we've realized that. Now we're into a super interesting phase now where the economy's cooling. It's not getting cold. It's just not as hot.
Yeah.
And we're seeing earnings right now coming out from companies. They post quarterly earnings. And so
Amazon's
we're seeing
today, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so too. And we're seeing earnings from the second quarter coming in now. And what we're seeing is that, well, they're okay, but they're not great. It's one of those things where, the food's not so bad that you want to send it back.
Yeah.
And you'll probably end up here again because it's the closest restaurant to your house, but you just wish it was better, you know? So the stock market is forward looking. It's based upon which direction people think things are going. And that's why we're sort of bumping around out here, waiting to see different things. There's big, interesting things happening out of the Trump administration right now in terms of regulating the tech companies.
Right.
You might have noticed that Facebook had a $5 billion fine put on them.
And the stock went up.
And some antitrust legislation that requires independent oversight of their privacy thingies.
I know.
I haven't dug through this, but their stock goes up, right?
I know.
Their stock goes up because
nothing they can do. I mean, as I said about Hillary, she can shoot the Pope on the White House lawn and she'd still be elected president. But I think Zuckerberg could do the same thing.
It's good to be the king, right? It's good to be the king. Facebook had some numbers that went up. They had some growth in the order of 30% in some areas of their business. So the $5 billion fine, some people are saying, well, that's a slap on a wrist for a company that big, and now they're off to keep going to business as always.
131 days, they'll get that back.
Is that
that's what
you read?
I read?
Like,
131 days. Yeah, they'll get that $5 billion back.
In the tech world, maybe that's a long time, right?
That may be. That may be
3 months.
Some animals don't live that long.
But that's interesting, right? Is that this deregulatory pro-business president is now having the view that we need to limit the power of these companies. You can't argue that there should be some oversight of what is now the tech business.
Well, I think so, but if you look at something like Amazon, they have like 5% of the retail. If they had 95%, I would say, let's jump on them pretty good. But at 5%, it's hard to make a case to slam the door on Amazon.
Whereas Facebook has created this social media thing, and they dominate it between them and Instagram. So they have the information. Google has created this internet search thing. They've got their information. I'm okay with some oversight. I think it's these penalties, like everybody else. You're like, okay, $5 billion. Where's it go? Where's it go?
Well, that's what my wife asked last night. She said,
do I pay less in taxes next year because we slapped a $5 billion fine on Facebook?
I think it goes into the bottomless hole of the general fund.
Right. I should know.
Never
this,
to be seen again because it's not going to reduce the deficit it's just going to be another program.
There's $1 trillion in there.
I know. Yeah. Let's take a phone call. 522 Talk is the number. 522-8255. Caller, you on the air with Mike McCormick. What's going on?
Hey, I think you just answered the question I had. That $5 billion fine they slapped on Facebook, the money, it goes into the general fund. Correct?
Well, I think so. Well, I think anything that it goes to the FTC, right, or the Federal Trade Commission.
It was the FTC that assessed the fine,
which is a government agency, and so it's going to be dumped into the general fund, never to be heard from again.
Yeah, I mean, so what do they allocate it? They respend it. They have a New Year's party with it. What?
Pretty much all the above.
Yeah.
I think that's nobody knows, and nobody seems to care where it goes and what it's used for. Well, in many cases, when they have something about smoking, for example, the money goes to non-smoking programs and things like that. I don't know in the FTC
victims of cyberbullying.
I guess.
I don't know. If I were Facebook, I'd say, well, okay, here's your $5 billion, but if you're going to do a anti-smoking campaign, we want our name on the bottom and say this ad brought to you by Facebook.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a great idea. We should do that.
Anyway. All right. Take care, guys.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
Everybody get $5 put in their retirement account thanks to Facebook or something.
Sure.
I don't know.
Why not? Yeah. But so many of these things, I mean, Goldman Sachs, how many times have they been fined?
Oh, my gosh.
And what happens to that money? Why is the deficit going down, or why we just got $5 billion that we shouldn't have to borrow from whoever?
All taxes, right? Where do the Anyway, we can talk about this in depth and not go anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
We won't solve anything.
Yeah, from our text line, 478-8298, the markets love all the Goldman Sachs partners in the Trump administration. Well, they're not in Goldman Sachs making a lot of money. They're not making much in the White House, I'll tell you.
Goldman's been the darling of Wall Street for a long time.
It has.
They built a great business, and at the height in the 80s, 90s, and slightly beyond, but really it was more 80s, 90s. They were truly the kings of the universe. Do they have influence? Yeah. Do they have less influence than before? I think so. I think Trump's
so too. Yeah.
administration, everything's a bit upside down over there for both sides of the aisle too, in some degrees. And we're not seeing financials do well at all. They have lagged this recovery severely, especially with Trump's arrival. If you graph out the S&P 500 and put it up against financials, it's not a pretty chart.
Not good, yeah.
And I'm curious when that's going to reverse, because these companies' business is making money.
Yeah. Well, I would think so. So let's take another call, then we got to take a quick break. Caller, you are on the air with Mike McCormick. What's up?
Mike, how you doing this morning? It's Barry, Triple B.
Good.
Wonderful to hear you, Barry.
Good to hear from you, too. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Anyway, I had a comment about what you said earlier about the hearings, just kind of a side deal there. Yeah, they probably don't matter to a lot of people. But in my opinion, and maybe you can weigh in on this, this is going down this road of, okay, well, I don't care about this. I don't really care about this. You turn your back, and then the next thing you know, you're being shut down on every front. Can't do anything anymore in Montana. You can't go out in the woods anymore and walk around because you've been shut out. So if you close your eyes to any of these issues, the next thing that happens is then different people are getting voted in, and you have to pay attention to all of these things, in my opinion, these things that go on, so you can make an educated choice on who you're going to elect, just like what happened in the city of Bozeman, where the property taxes just jumped up 25% for no apparent reason, and people are calling and complaining, but yet they're voted for these same people that raised their taxes because they didn't pay attention to what these people were saying, because it didn't affect them in their daily lives, apparently. Well, it does affect you in your daily lives. So just saying that you didn't care, it didn't really make a difference to you. It just kind of struck a little nerve there that it does make a difference. If people don't pay attention to the little things, the things that don't seem to make a difference, in the end, they do make a difference if people aren't paying attention. So,
excellent point.
Great point. It's just the rub is it's hard to know.
Thanks for the call.
The rub is to know what's important and what's not, and I suppose that's part of our role.
Yeah.
Great comment. Thanks.
Yeah. So, we, this
concept of fake news, it really set something alight, right? I mean, you get news, everybody's trying to grab your attention with a different story, trying to grab a different nerve, trying to grab a particular feeling, a certain emotion. And like Barry said, you can't ignore it all, because eventually you're going to have the rug pulled out from underneath you, and you had an opportunity to pay attention. But boy, we're getting stimulated from so many different sides. My point is that my aisle is pretty narrow. We're talking economics and finance here. And so I've only got such a bandwidth to pay attention to things.
Well, the caller's right from the standpoint, I think, that all politics are local. What happens in our local elections here, our city commission, our county commissioners, that certainly has a big effect. The city wants to put a $200 property tax park thing on the ballot. We got a law and justice center they want to put on there. We got a high school to pay for. We got a safety building to pay for. We got a renovation of the old high school to pay for.
We're giving out credits for people to build on 7th.
Oh yeah. Well, and also
loaning them money and creating incentives here, but not over here. That's a great lesson, right? Is that if you focus locally, yes, it is all very salient. It's a little bit more esoteric on the national level, but it all does impact us.
Yeah. Well, but the caller is right, and that's why we talk about these things here. It isn't that in this particular instance, what I was getting at with the Mueller report, that, when I said it doesn't matter, it doesn't put food on your table,
for the
get
market,
you a job, but it does show, it does put a glaring light on the two parties were there for you to make a decision next November as to
watching them duke it out.
Which direction do you want to go? Do you want to go the AOC way, or do you want to go the Trump way? Which way do you want to go?
I am undecided.
I know you're undecided, so
It's a pretty easy time to be undecided right now, I think.
All right. We got to take a quick break. We're talking with Mike McCormick, McCormick Financial Services. We'll be right back with more with Mike right after this. 39 minutes for the top of the hour. Well, 20 minutes after the top of the hour. It is 39 minutes for the top of the hour, I guess. So Mike McCormick in the house, McCormick Financial Services. And we've been talking about the markets. We're talking about, caller just mentioned the real estate situation with the increase in property taxes.
Right. He said, don't take your eye off.
Jeff Krause and I have talked about that ad nauseum, of course.
Don't take your eye off the ball, or you might have taxes raised. Well, you know what's going to happen is that rents go up.
Yeah.
Taxes go up, rents go up.
That's for sure.
And it's hard to imagine rents going up even more. I mean, when I moved here, it was $300 a bed. Now I guess it's $600 or more a bed.
Yep.
It's hard to imagine how people can make ends meet, renting in Bozeman and working a job in Bozeman without having outside income coming in somewhere.
Yeah.
We've already done this trick where it used to be that your mother of your child didn't work, right? That used to be the norm. They would raise the child, and they would certainly work. That is the hardest job there is in my mind. Yeah. And now we've created a system of childcare and the ability to bring your partner to work and potentially not quite double your income because you got to pay for childcare, but increase your income. Where else are we going to get this ability for people to make more money to afford this lifestyle here? It's hard to see where it's going to come from. I don't see wages going up in Bozeman. There's tons of people that want to move here. There's tons of applicants for most jobs. Construction, I suppose, has got an insatiable demand for people. Well,
we've got a very low unemployment rate, which boosts salaries in some cases. So
right.
Walmart's paying $14 an hour,
right?
Which they were paying $11.
But
here's year and a half ago.
And here's some simple math, though. Let's say I own a rental property. I used to. I don't anymore. I got tired of replacing carpets and toilets.
Sure.
Or plunging toilets, replacing carpets.
Right.
But if I owned one, I would rent it out, and my math shows that it would take about 2 months just to pay the property taxes on this, just to pay the tax man.
Yeah.
And then if I owned it free and clear, then the remainder of the months I could use to offset my expenses, my upkeep, and whatever maintenance. And I have to save ahead to replace the carpet for that one tenant that spills their whatever on the, blah, 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 right? Sure. And do repairs. I might need to pay some service and accounting fees in order to manage that property right there. So there's another month or two, really, if you're a good investor. So you have 12 minus 4, you have 8 months of rent that you can collect as income off this property. If you just purchased it, you paid $500,000 for it. Is 8 months of rent really enough to make a return on $500,000?
Probably not.
It's not a great return out there right now. So it's a curious thing where we're going to go in terms of local real estate and how these additional tax burdens are going to interrelate with the salaries that people are making. And it's probably just going to perpetuate the thing that people need to come here with their own money. I mean, back in the day, when you move here, I moved to Jackson a long, long time ago, and the idea was you need to bring your woman with you.
Yeah.
Because this was the frontier, right?
Yeah, right.
No, that's not true anymore. Now it's bring your bag of money with you.
That's for sure.
Is what it has to be.
Well, there's no question this is a pricey place to live.
We're going straight to Boulder.
Yeah.
I mean, we're Bend is.
I think we are. Yeah.
Bend's our bigger brother, and Boulder's the god that we're going to. And a report just came out that said Boulder has some of these most stable property values in the country at those levels, and it's just because there's an endless demand at a certain point for that sort of lifestyle, and maybe we're going to get there.
Yeah, I don't know what our vacancy rate is here. It can't be very high, I don't think. But
depends if we're talking people's second homes that they don't rent out, or how many actual rentals are available on the market.
Or there may be, when the college is gone, there may be maybe they're vacation rentals or whatever, but I don't think the city allows vacation rentals anymore.
You know what I've heard is that the kids, they just pay for not being there so that they can keep their lease.
Oh, okay.
They pay the price. Maybe somebody goes and uses it in the summer or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. You want to keep your place if you're not in the dorm.
And how do you invest in real estate in a market like this?
Yeah.
It's delicately.
Is it on a bubble?
Carefully.
I mean, we look back at the 90s, everybody, was flipping houses, and then all of a sudden everybody's upside down in their house.
I'll say two conflicting things, I think. One is it's not a bubble. When you look at the amount of debt versus the cash flows and the health of the owners, the low interest rates, there's ways you can explain this, right? And the fashionable lifestyle that we live, it is fashionable now. You can't look at an ad for some sort of older person's magazine and not see somebody going out in the woods and feeling good wearing Lululemon, right? But it's not sustainable. Yeah. So if it's not a bubble and it's not sustainable, what is it? I suppose it's a well-functioning economy trying to muddle its way through. And this whole economy as a whole, I don't think is a bubble either. I think that it's more of a, there'll be legs and bumps and bruises and flat periods, but we do have the potential to drive prices higher. There are companies that are still, Facebook, despite it all, is still innovating. Tesla had some horrible earnings. Nobody was really too surprised. I still see Teslas being driven around. I still know lots of people, including myself, that would like to have a Tesla. Sure.
Kind of a cool car.
Maybe the coolest, if you ask me. So we are going higher. People are still, the consumer is the bottom line. We're 70% of the economy. Of all the tickets that we ring up at the end of the day, the consumer is 70%. The consumer has never been healthier right now. I mean, unless you go back to the industrial age, we are booming. Like I said, our net worths are great. Our savings rates for retirement still aren't very good. We're not so good at that. That's
like I said,
clear.
that consumer confidence is back where it was before 9/11. Somebody was reporting the other day.
No kidding.
That we're seem to be very healthy.
Getting heady.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what when clients come or new clients or call-ins from the radio, I like to do what I can to help people that are listening. What should I do with extra money right now? Well, everybody has extra money. And so when you get in that frame of mind, and if you don't have extra money, I apologize. This boom is not obviously taking everybody up. Some people haven't chose careers that are just designed purely to make profit, which I respect, but there's a lot that have. And when everybody has extra money, then you handle your investments differently. Then you look at everybody differently. If everybody's sitting at the table, feels flush, and is bullish on their poker hand, that's going to change how you play your hand.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I mean, if you don't buy your bass boat, you got extra money. If you don't buy the rifle, shotgun, whatever, you got extra money. But if you like to hunt, then those are justifiable costs.
They are.
If you like to hunt or fish.
Well, sure. And, you got to enjoy your money somehow.
Yeah. If you like to play golf, you don't buy the $49.95 clubs. You buy the $200 drivers or $300 drivers.
So I tell people, what you need to do is you need to make sure you're maxing out your retirement accounts. Retirement accounts are the best places to invest in stocks and bonds because this is the long-term money. This is the money that if you're younger, you don't even think it's yours. You're like, what is it? Retirement? What? Who? And if you're older, you recognize the importance of it, but you also recognize that you're not going to, the day you retire, you're not going to cash that whole account in.
No.
You're going to hopefully live a long life. And with these retirement accounts, there's taxes usually that are applied to the pre-tax type of retirement account. So that means it hurts a little bit to get the money out. Let's make that the last asset that we touch. And when you define it as that, the stock market up and down, they're not as emotional. You're like, I won't need that money for 10, 20 years. The stock market's never had a losing 10-year period. If I don't do anything, it'll be more than where it is today. Yeah. What should I worry about?
S&Ps haven't either. They haven't had a 10-year losing period.
The big anxiety comes, A, when you're in retirement and you need that money sooner than 10 years. Yeah. Now you've got an issue. And B, when you have money that is not sequestered in one of those retirement accounts, it's just in an account with your name on it, and maybe you worked with your person or you're doing it yourself, and you're watching these tickers go up and down right now. That's a sickening feeling because things can change really quickly.
Well, theoretically, I think the rule of thumb used to be you should be able to take 4% out, and it'll perpetually go on and replace
It's a perpetual energy machine.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about that sustainable withdrawal rate.
We'll do that when we come back. All right. We're talking with Mike McCormick. Mike's usually on Wednesdays at 8, but was gracious enough to come in here and help me out with Shane being gone. So
sunrise service right here on the Soapbox.
All right. And Shane and I will be live tomorrow night, 6 p.m. at the Grand Tree. It's a free event, so let us know if you can make it. RSVP at KMMSAM.com or on your AM 1450 KMMS smartphone app. And we'll be back with more with Mike right after this. 23 minutes for the top of the hour, Thursday, July 25th, 2019. It is 59 degrees outside. We're looking for the mid-80s. I don't know if we're going to make that or not. Mike McCormick in the house, McCormick Financial Services. And, well, we've been talking a little bit about real estate. We were talking off the air that for people, young people moving to Bozeman, starting a family or graduating from college or whatever, there isn't that little ranch house they can buy for, 2-bedroom deal and then eventually move up to the, 2,000, 3,000 square foot home.
That's right, Tom. There's no stepping stone.
There isn't, yeah.
To the $400,000 house or whatever it is. There's no $200,000 beginning to that.
Yeah.
There might be a condo somewhere that goes for $200,000. I suppose now. But yeah, back when I moved here from we were right before in the Colorado Front Range, huge market, and we did just that. Our first home was the 2-bedroom rancher. That was like 950 square feet or something like that. 1 bathroom, parents would come, oh, nice, charming house. You'd be so proud. And then,
right.
Everybody's on top of each other. And that's great.
Yeah.
And then when we moved here, we were able to get some equity out of that, some growth out of that. Well, we got all our equity out. We got some growth out of that. And we're able to parlay that into the next step, which for us was a downtown fixer-upper is the polite word, right? I can't use the other words on the air.
Right, yeah.
And then it had a rental with it.
All right.
And so we were able to expand and add another rental. And then before you know it, we were living rent-free. And then we were able to get all our equity out of that, along with some growth. And then we moved up again. So it's this ability to move up that creates a healthy housing market. And, right now the incentives for people building products out there, there's no incentive to build a smaller home.
Yeah.
The code requirements for today make it illegal to build a home that's as inexpensive as maybe some of the older ones, right? So these fixed costs, and then you've got open space requirements, which I'm generally in favor of. It's nice to have a town where people can move around without a car, and everybody's out there doing their thing this morning. So there's a disconnect in it, and I don't have the answer. I don't really want to wade into the affordable housing subsidized thing. It's a slippery slope for me, but it is unfortunate that these millennials or whoever you want to call them that want to get into the housing market, now they need to step in with a $50,000 bill and sterling credit and a good job in order to get anywhere. That's new. That's not a healthy system, really.
Well, I wanted to talk about this in preference to our text line, 478-8298. Mike, what drives our economy, service or manufacturing, and what is the future?
The future. Well, the future's bright. Let's just leave that, right? U.S. is in charge.
Pretty much.
We're all living longer. Future's good. About the other one, I like thinking, so much of this local economy is real estate.
Yeah.
All the money in this valley has been made in real estate, with the exception of a couple of photonics and one company that Gene Forte started. All the money in this valley will continue to be made in real estate. I don't know how, if that means that it's going to continue to go up, but that is the business. And when you look at just the business of real estate around here, you all of a sudden have maybe half of our economy. Take out the hospital, take out the university. What's left is almost entirely going to be construction based. And this was true back when I moved here 19 years ago. You build it, you sell it, or you loan it. These are the areas where careers are thriving in the valley. You can build homes, you can sell homes, or you can loan money for homes. That's not going to change. That ebbs and flows. We've seen the number of realtors go up and down dramatically during these boom and busts, and I hear metrics that it's the same dollars per closing per agent as it was at the bottom. So careful what you wade into. But that's still the demand. And when you look at the associated services that building a home or maintaining a home provides, you have this whole instant economy right there, from lawn mowing to roofing to house cleaning. To kitchen remodels, you name it, that is the economy. So when you want to mention goods and services in a separate basket, you can't, because if I have a landscaper come and do my landscaping, they're going to need supplies. Yes, it's mostly labor, but they're going to need supplies. I order a new couch, that's material. Somebody needs to sell me the couch. Somebody needs to dispose of the old couch. Somebody needs to bring the new couch in. Somebody needs to clean the couch when the dog poops on it. It's hard to separate the goods and services from the two. But that, I like to look at that and say, okay, that's what a healthy functioning economy is. It's tricky when we try and scale this up to the stock market. That gets esoteric really fast. But when you look at things that you use in the building process, Masco is one of the biggest companies out there. They own most of it. They provide it. You can sort of get it. We can transition that. But let's go to the phone call.
We don't have a phone call.
Oh, we did. Call back if that was you.
But we do have to take a break. So
we'll do that.
We'll do that. We'll be right back right after these important words. Hang on. Welcome back, everyone. 15 minutes for the top of the hour. We have a caller patiently waiting on the line. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Well, it would be yours truly on a massive road trip east of Seattle, 58 degrees, blue skies, and heading on a road trip to the Gala of the Century.
That's right, man. Well, nobody missed you this morning, so...
Of course I didn't. I wasn't there, so, I just thought I had to call in and let everyone know I'm on the road. The road trip's going. We're ready to get there, and now I haven't missed another show.
All right.
Very good.
All right, man.
Mayor. See you tomorrow.
All right.
Safe.
All right. Take care, Shane. Thanks for the call. All right.
He has a perfect attendance record, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yes, he is. He hadn't missed a show, so.
So great that he's coming down and that you guys are doing this event tomorrow night.
Yeah. Yeah. Tomorrow night, we're going to be at the Grand Tree, 6 p.m. at the Highlight Room on the Convention Center backside of.
They do a great job. I love the Grand Tree.
They do. Yeah.
Parking is always easy.
Yep, pretty easy back there. They got a nice big lot, so.
Then I'm looking at your list. It's quite a crowd that's showing up.
Yeah, we're RSVPs. We're pretty close to 50 so far, so we're hopefully a lot of folks will show up. So.
Well, I'm not going to be there. I'm sorry.
I know.
I'm sorry. We've got a family engagement.
Bring the family.
Well, this engagement is off-site.
Well,
we're doing some crazy running relay thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we're locked in on that one. But if I were there, Tom, I would first of all I'd wear a disguise. Is what I'd do.
And ask us all the weird questions,
that I've always wanted to ask.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you have any weird questions, by all means, give us a call. But Steve says we need to lighten things up a little bit. He sent us a text. Damn that Ivanka! She is such a racist. Purchasing a white dog for her daughter. What an outrage! Forget about her work and donations to help the black people and her work promoting civil rights. I'm so much better than her. I'm proud owner of a black lab. Are Democrats totally insane? Lollapalooza. So there you go, Steve. We got it in. And then for Mike.
Fine. I'm fine with that.
I know you're fine with anything.
Just don't call me late for dinner.
So we talked about what drives our economy, service or manufacturing. So we're asking now, invest in manufacturing or services.
That's the question right there.
Yeah.
You want to bat that one?
I would say manufacturing, because services normally don't produce a whole lot of income. The profit margin is pretty low on house cleaning or landscaping or things like that, and it's very competitive businesses.
Yeah, and just to back up a step, right? There's 3,667 stocks out there that are over $5. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
But we take this pie and we divide it up. We want to try and make sense of it and analyze it and try and create different risk or reward profiles for the right type of investor. And so one way we do it is we can say, well, big companies versus small companies, or international companies versus national companies. Another way is to say, are you manufacturing something or are you providing a service? Mm-hmm. And when you get into those two things, there's theory out there that says there's an economic cycle where companies will reinvest, and airplanes are a great example, where when it's time to buy an airplane, you got to put an order in, you got to get in line, you got to find the money, you got to get the money together, get the airplane company to sign the contract, you got to get the plane made, and then the plane's delivered, and then hopefully that you still want the plane when the plane shows up, right?
Right. Yeah.
So manufacturing's got a longer cycle, and it's not as nimble, where services typically can say, oh, yeah, we can cloud computing? Yeah, we'll just hire a bunch of new guys. We're a cloud computing company. Here we go.
There we are.
Right? Voila. So it's a good question where we are in the economic cycle for this. Cat just came out with earnings yesterday, and Cat's earnings were just terrible, basically. And they tried to come up with all these different reasons about accounting, right? When everything goes wrong in the public markets, they're like, well, we had to take some accounting charges.
That's right, yeah.
We were impacted by the long winter. They you come up with those, right?
Yeah.
When it's good news, they're like, yeah, we're brilliant. That was all us. So we're moving into this late cycle. We're not as optimistic on the manufacturing right now. However, There's howevers, right? And actually, automotive is the other one where we've stopped an automotive boom that ended about 2016. And right now, automotive companies have been toxic. Ford just came out with another disappoint. What did I just read? Chrysler, somebody's firing a bunch of people. It's one of those times where it's unclear, and maybe it's technology. No, it's Nissan. Sorry, Nissan's cutting 1,200, 500 jobs as profit sinks.
But they're going to do it over a period of years, though, I think. They're not going to do it immediately. From what I heard.
Sure.
Anyway.
Sure. Well, it's they've got their reasons and they've got their methods.
Yeah.
But it's not because business is good, right?
No.
That's the gist there. So manufacturing can be tricky. That said, there's sectors of things where manufacturing is doing fine, and there's places where companies haven't reinvested in a long time, and so there's theories out there that that's going to shift. If we did get inflation with these cuts in the rates, and we're likely to have the Fed cut at the next week, and then after that, the ECB today just kicked their can down the road, but they're all going to follow us. Whatever the U.S. does with the rates, they need to do, or they're going to get punished. So if everybody cuts rates, money's easier. We might manage to get inflation to come about, and that might promote some additional changing in investment strategy. But right now, I would actually probably take the other side, Tom, and favor services over that, because you can make a quick buck off of these trends, and those companies can be nimble enough to say, orders are thin, we're going to fire all these people or cancel these obligations. The longer-term bets right now are off. People don't want to loan their money long-term. They don't want to invest their money any longer than they have to. Just like always, we like a quick buck and then keep it safe.
Yep, there you go. All right, we've got to take a quick break. And, when we come back, we'll ask Mike quarter point or half point on the
or deuce.
Fed.
Could be deuce.
We'll be right back. 7 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Thursday, July 25th, 2019. Mike McCormick Financial Services is in the house. And should we avoid manufacturing stocks that are hit by steel and aluminum tariffs?
Oh, gosh. Now we really are.
Now we're getting into the weeds.
Yeah, right. Now I got to get my compliance person online. Well, these tariffs are here. They're usually, like people said, when you start a tariff, it doesn't usually end right away. I expect, of course, before the election comes to a head, we're going to have some victory in the negotiations, and I absolutely approve of what Trump's doing and attempting to do with exerting our upper hand right now. But trying to speculate an investment based upon what's going to happen with tariffs, that's risky, right? I'd rather like to take that variable out of it. And when you look at steel stocks, it's been politically influenced for the past decade, really. Hasn't been since China was building up its stockpiles that there was an easy money to be made in it. So I would be cautious of that one. And it seems to be the one that people like to stick with tariffs. Oh yeah, well I'm gonna Harley Davidson whiskey and steel just gets to it. And then there's some real reasons why maybe the U.S. is not as profitable and efficient as making steel as other countries. And one of the things that I like to think about, especially in terms of oil, energy security is paramount. In some ways, that's where we ended up with foreign policy, was to try and ensure that we had a stable supply of oil because we didn't have enough.
Yeah. Well,
now we have enough. Surprise, right? Well, that changed. But it still doesn't mean that maybe we should still burn everybody else's oil and keep ours for later, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's energy security to me. So maybe steel's the same thing. Maybe we should use other people's cheap steel until they're out, and then we have the steel.
We've got it here.
So, investing, it's a company by company thing. I'm not, people that know me know that I do invest with exchange traded funds, and I take a broader view than individual stocks and companies. But when you're interested in something that this caller is, you need to go on a company by company basis and really do your homework. And you can do well. You can do well. I don't mean to discount that. It's just it's another level of work and another level of risk.
Yeah. From our text line, 478-8298, when so much of your money is going to housing, it's hard to buy a new vehicle.
Oh, gosh. I'm right in there.
Yeah.
I'm right in there, too. I'm working hard to pay my house down. I'm doing the triple mortgage payment method. My plan, this is an aside, but I've got daughters coming of college age.
Right.
And my plan was to have the house paid off by then. Because then if I need to, I can borrow money against the house. And if there's financial aid that we somehow qualify for, which I don't know if we will, because we make more than a little bit.
Put them to work.
Understood. But this is a $60,000 bill we're talking, Tom. It takes all you got to mass the powers that be. So
should never pay for your kids' education.
So if your housing costs are so significant that you can't save, what should you be doing? Well, one is recognize that you do have a placeholder and a very strong asset.
Yeah.
That you are in some ways saving for retirement just by making your mortgage payments. I know that that's small consolation, especially since it's mostly going towards interest at the beginning. But you have just taken a small amount of money, whatever that down payment was, and you levered it up like 10 times. Now you have this investment that's $500,000 and you put $30,000 into it. And so over time, you're going to get the growth on $500,000. So feel a little bit okay about that. The other one is just, budgeting is not my strong suit either. It's not fun. It's not sexy. We don't talk about it on the radio because nobody would listen.
Yeah.
But you got to write down where your money goes. And these put it all on a credit card and get the credit card company to send you that thing that says, here's where your money went last year. Look at it with your wife. Be objective. Don't be hard on yourself. Let's take the emotion out. This is, okay, I bought it. It was silly, but, I'm just human, right? Take it easy on me.
Well, and I think when you get those things, you're surprised that we spent that much on entertainment, or we spent that much on, let's look at what was it? Movies? Was it eating out?
But hey, we're really good on eating out or something, right?
Yeah.
Like there's bright spots too.
Sure.
And then in buying a vehicle, this is where I need to defer. There's a lot of great automotive companies out there with great service that help us, but you can spend whatever you want on a car.
Sure.
You can spend $500 on a car. I mean, when I used to come in with you on Saturdays and you had your swap meet, there was cars out there.
There was cars there.
And they had four wheels and tires on them.
Yep.
And
they were a couple of grand or less.
Right. You weren't making the impact you were hoping for when you're pulling up.
Yeah.
Or you can get one of these new Suburbans that people are rolling down on, and your payments more than most people's mortgages, right?
That's true.
So you have a choice in that one. And there's nothing else we can do. Say, the reality is what it is. I want you to own your car. I want you to buy used cars. You could save money on insurance and registration, and you spend a bit more on maintenance. But hey, you're supporting the services around town, right?
That's right.
You're supporting the local auto shops. There's some wonderful ones.
That's true.
And then know that in the future, we're having a big shift, not just in technology, but in transportation right now.
Yeah.
We don't know what tomorrow's transportation is going to be like. I'm pretty sure Bozeman's not going to be a place of autonomous vehicles that I'm going to press a button with a watch and then the George jets and things are going to zip up.
It's going to come up and get you.
But we'll be byproducts. If that's what's happening in the big city, maybe we'll get their cars. I don't know.
Well, we got scooters coming to Bozeman. And
there was one parked out in front of our building right now.
Oh, yeah. I should mention that we have several great car dealer sponsors.
I was going to say.
And we would encourage you to get the newest best thing they have.
They do wonderful work, and they can work with you.
Yes, they do, and they'll work within your budget and make sure you're taken care of. So we're not anti new car here at all.
Certainly not. So. That is what keeps America rolling.
That's it. All right, Mike, thanks for coming in.
It is really a pleasure to be here. I love the listeners calling in. I appreciate everything that you guys make this show, and you can reach me at 522-3201, but you can just Google or go through Tom.
Yeah.
Tom's got all the answers anyway.
Yeah. Well, we're sorry you can't be there Friday night. We'll put a cutout of you up there somewhere.
6:00 tomorrow at the Grand Tree.
That's it,
If somebody just shows up, is that okay?
Sure. Absolutely.
Right. Good to know.
Of course.
Maybe if my plans change, I'll be there.
All right, man. All right. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you.
All right. We got to get out of here. The God Squad is next, and we'll be back with them right after the news. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 6 minutes after the hour. It is Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 64 degrees outside. No Shane today. Shane is on his way here for our big get-together tomorrow night. We'll be live and in person at the Grand Tree at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. We are hoping that you will come out and see us and talk to us and have a good time with us and all of that. And you probably need that right there. If that's too much, turn it down. Yeah, you should be number 2, I think. Yeah. And you should be number 1, probably. So, wherever that is. So, getting everybody tuned up here where they can hear all right. So, if it's too much or too little, you can turn it up or turn it down, whatever there. So, all right. So, we're ready to go here. We got the God Squad. We've got Bryan, right?
Yes.
Bryan's here. Rabbi Ed's here.
Morning.
Jody's here. Rachel's here. So, and you come in unprepared with no topic. So thanks a lot for that. Well, one of our listeners had a topic. They want to know about the opinion piece in the paper, Rabbi Ed.
What, they have a specific question about it, or?
Well, they just let's do a little background for the people who don't know what we're talking about. This was let me pull up the paper and I'll give you the date if people want to go back and look at it. It was let's see, it was on Friday, July 19th, and the headline, Senator Daines' position both appalling, surprising, and it was written by you and rabbis from Missoula, Billings.
It was written by, the 6 rabbis throughout the state. And what we were asking for was a meeting with Senator Daines.
And I think he's agreed to that meeting.
Well, he's been taught, we don't have a date or anything yet, but that may in fact happen. Actually,
well, according to the news that we've been reporting, our news from Montana says that he has agreed to meet with you, but as to a date, we don't know. There's been some contact with his office. I don't know how it will end up. Yeah.
Actually, Senator Tester had reached out independently and has asked to meet with us about it as well.
Sure.
So the we saw, as many people did, the president's assault attack on these 4 women of color, one of whom happens to be a Muslim, who disagree with him on policy, as a racist attack. That wasn't really our point, though, although we see it that way. We see that it's completely legitimate for to have policy disagreements, and but to tell people to go back to where they came from, especially American citizens, that's something that Jews have heard for centuries, all throughout the world. Go back to where you came from. Something
but that was only a portion of the quote. He said, "Go back where you came from, fix your own countries, come back and tell us how you did it."
Well, I don't know about the tell us how you did it piece. I didn't see that, but that this is their country. That's the whole point. I
understand that. Yeah.
So there's nowhere to go back to. They live here. They're American citizens.
Sure.
So, but the second issue that was of the greater concern to us as rabbis was to use anti-Semitism to justify the racist attack in the first place, to claim that these people are anti-Semitic, and to try to divide Jews from other minorities groups. This has been a tactic of authoritarian governments against Jews throughout history, to try to divide us against other minority groups by claiming that the other minority group is anti-Semitic. It's using Jews as a shield, as Gail Collins said in the New York Times this week, to justify an otherwise racist attack. See, we're not racist. We're just protecting against anti-Semitism. But the irony is that we don't feel that those women are anti-Semitic. It's funny that a non-Jew would suddenly be taking up our banner when we don't feel, we don't see them as anti-Semitic. Now, it's true that Omar has in the past made an insensitive anti-Semitic remark for which she apologized.
But does apologizing get you off the hook? I mean, well, maybe if Hitler had apologized, it'd be okay.
It does. But it didn't. It paled compared to the president's anti-Semitic remarks when he said there are good people among the neo-Nazis. When we have synagogue shooting by people who are claiming to be influenced by the president's words, so to attack her for. It wasn't an anti-Semitic remark. It was a remark that raised an anti-Semitic meme, and she was wrong, and she apologized for it. I know rabbis who know her and the other women in that group, and they're convinced that there's not an anti-Semitic bone in their body. But that's not the point. The point is, it's not the role of the senator or the president to be challenging against the wishes of the great majority of the Jewish community. And dividing people, attempting to divide Jews from other minority people. And that was our point.
Okay.
Don't use anti-Semitism as your shield to justify racism.
All right. Let's see what the callers have to say. 522 Talk is the number. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the air with the God Squad. What's up?
Yeah, Chronicles and King talks about Jews just like you, Rabbi. And why don't you keep your religion out of my politics?
Well, we're here to talk about religion
right.
today.
Well, here's
Yeah.
the funny thing. Here's the funny thing. Everybody wants Christianity out of politics. When you get a progressive Jew in there, that's fine all of a sudden. But here's another thing. Trump's daughter is a Jew. His son-in-law is a Jew. So I think Trump can say whatever he wants. He's got the he's got the right. This is a free country, and it wasn't racist. There is no he didn't mention anybody's race. You guys just want to see that so you can drive the wedge. Democrats, you progressives, have been driving a wedge between American citizens since Obama got into office. And it's pretty disgusting. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right. Well, he makes a point. I don't remember Trump calling anybody a particular name, just said that didn't agree with the comments that they
no, he
that
said
they
he said they should go back to where they came from.
Yeah. And fix the countries
but there are no other countries. They're American citizens.
They are American citizens,
and by the way,
they have a cultural tie to Somalia.
No, they don't.
She was born in Somalia. She has a cultural tie there. My family came from Germany. Now I don't.
How would you feel if someone said go back to Germany? Is that okay?
Sure, why not? They got their opinion. So.
Yeah, well, we Jews have been hearing that meme for 2,000 years. We know it's a racist meme. Blacks have been hearing it. They know it's a racist meme.
Well, that brings up another thing. People of color, women of color, I think that's insulting.
Why is that?
Because you're giving them a weakness. They're strong women. To say they're women of color gives them some kind of a shield that you feel they need, and they don't. Why is that women of color always included in this?
Because there are many, many people in Congress and in our country who disagree with the president on policy,
sure,
like they do. But he picked out 4 women of color, particularly because of who they are, and is trying to use that to create divides. They just are women. They're different. You can't say that they're African Americans because some are not. You can't say that they're Puerto Ricans because some are not. So they all happen to be brown or black people, and so
why is that important?
Because that's why they were singled out.
I don't think so. I think they were singled out for what they said. I don't remember a Cuban backlash against the guy from Florida. The senator Mario. I don't remember little Mario or Lion Ted. Ted's Cuban. I don't remember a backlash of Cuban people saying, "Oh, well, they're men of color. You can't say that about them." And Trump said that about them. I don't see.
What did he say? He never told them to go back to their own country.
He didn't tell them to go back to their own country, but he belittled them by labeling them.
Yeah, well, it's true. What you say, Tom, has some validity. He does label and diminish people.
Sure.
People. That's his style.
It
which
is
contrary to all religious precepts that I know.
I'd agree.
But in this case, it wasn't about simply calling them a name like he usually does. It was telling them that they're not Americans, they're not welcome here. When you put that together with his policy on immigration and other things, it's very clear that's part of a bigger picture where if you're not a white Christian or a certain type of Christian, this is not your country.
Yeah, I think you're overreacting.
We've seen it for 2,000 years, but maybe you should ask.
That, yeah.
Okay, so our country has racism at its core, and we are for all the years that we've been seeking to right the wrongs, we haven't succeeded at that.
But we're self-correcting.
Well,
we got rid of slavery. We gave vote to the women. We gave votes to gays. We gave. We've got blacks on the Supreme Court. We've got blacks in Congress.
I agree.
We had a black president.
I agree. We have made some progress, but
that seems like a lot of progress to me.
But it's not accomplished. And to hear comments like that is going backwards.
I agree. I'm not going to defend his comment at all. You know, I think that was the wrong comment to make, but I'm also not going to excuse them for many of the comments that they've made, apologizing or not. You know, I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Well, first of all, it's only one that made a comment that was insensitive. One of the four. Not the other three never said anything like that.
Well, I would say AOC's made offensive comments all over the place, drinking out of toilets. You know, I mean, she was wrong about that. She was absolutely wrong.
She was right about it.
No, she wasn't. I mean, she wasn't. I mean, that's been debunked all over the place.
Well, we have a factual disagreement. I've been to the border. I saw what's going on the border.
Well,
and she accurately described it by and large.
Well, okay. Well, we'll disagree on that, I guess. All right. Let's take some phone calls, see what the callers have to say. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the air. What's going on?
Well, let me just say a few things real quick. Now, remember that we have no more racism in this country anymore because there's not one thing you cannot do if your color of your skin is dark in this country. There's not one thing that can put you back just because of the color of your skin in this country. Two, I don't see how anybody can have the nerve to get up on the radio and sit here and try to spill a bunch of rabbi talk when you don't have your facts straight. When you get your facts straight, I might start taking you seriously. But until then, I think you need to go watch some Fox News instead of the obvious CNN and ABC News that you're watching, Rabbi.
What did you find factually wrong? Okay. All right. We'll go here. Caller, you on the air? Thanks for waiting. What's up?
Hey, I think the main problem I don't think it has anything to do with people's color. I mean, who cares what color you are? I mean, sure, we have diversity in America. It's a great thing, you know, and we love it. And I think the people in Bozeman love it, you know. Yeah, we don't have a massive amount like other places, but that's just how it is here. And we can't change that. It changes on its own naturally as people come here. But the things that these women are pushing are anti-American, and some of the stuff Trump pushes. You know, we need to remember our form of government and where, you know, our roots are in the Bible and in Scripture, and you can't sit here and talk about, oh, well, we can't say that. When go back and read your own Scripture, and I believe in it too. You know, where God's like, hey, don't mingle. You know, God is trying to protect the, you know, bloodlines and stuff like that. And people were castigated when they intermixed, you know, in marriage. And maybe that's acceptable now, and I don't have a problem with it. But it is funny that, you know, you can't like believe in your Scripture and then think that, you know, we're not living a complete biblical life in America, obviously, and that's fine. And then there's also religious minorities, you know. Catholics are probably like the biggest Christian base, and then there's other ones that might be a minority if you want to look at it that way as well. And people are frowned upon for their religious views because of what they believe. You know, if you believe in different scripture other than the Bible, you're picked on in the Catholic or in the Christian community, and you're not accepted as a Christian. And so there's a lot, you know, we need more love in America. We need more love here in Bozeman, in this area. And, you know, we don't need to fight about these things so much. Yeah, Trump said something. Trump is the president of the state. He should have nothing to do with us here on the ground, you know. And these people, our politicians, need to get their butts in gear and fix things. That's my opinion. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for the call. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back right after this. 23 minutes after the hour. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 66 degrees outside. We're looking for a high in the 80s. Tommy Gluff, your morning mayor. No Shane today. Shane's traveling to Bozeman. We're going to get together at the Grand Tree tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, and I assume all of you will be there. So why not, huh?
It happens. It's our Sabbath, so.
Well, we'll set aside an area in the corner where where you can do that, Rabbi Ed. Well, I want to get some other people involved in this. Obviously, we don't want to make this the Rabbi Ed show. So,
thank you.
So we got. Well, I think I beat you up enough. So let's, Bryan. What are your thoughts on what we've been talking about here? We're talking about diversity and opinions and all of that as they tie into our religious beliefs. So,
sure, right.
Where are you on this?
Well, I think there's undeniably racism and hatred in our country, just like there is undeniably racism and hatred in the world. And that's because, as the Bible says, we're all sinners. So we don't naturally love anyone but ourselves. And that's why there's some beautiful passages, I think, in the New Testament to talk about in Christ, there's neither Jew nor Gentile, nor male nor female. So I know when I look out upon our congregation on a Sunday and see the diversity out there from people in it from all over the world. We have an African-American man on our staff. It just shows me the beauty of what can happen to span this barrier that is naturally there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Pastor Jody?
So when I think about what the Bible has to say about mixing of the tribes, which is one of the things that the last caller mentioned in his comments, is
sure.
There are sections, he's right, that there are parts of the Bible which talk about not mixing with other tribes, but there is a counteracting voice within the Bible that lifts that up as part of God's goal for humanity. So even as long ago as, let's say, the time of the book of Ruth, that story is a story of breaking down tribal barriers and learning to live together and showing love for one another. And it's that Ruth, of course, is an ancestor of Jesus. So we've got, that's the direction in which I believe God is moving the world.
Okay. Rachel?
Yeah, I think there's many examples in the Bible of, that we can take from Christ of looking outside of ourselves, looking at individuals that may believe different than we do or may act in different ways than we do, and the importance of embracing those individuals. And I think you see around this table a good example of people coming together who have different backgrounds and different beliefs, but coming together to find, common points of interest and discussing how we should address public issues. Just yesterday, my own faith, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we celebrated Pioneer Day, which is a holiday where we celebrate the arrival of the Mormon pioneers to the state of Utah. And the reason they did that was because of persecution. And I think in my own faith, our own faith history, we've seen the effects of discrimination. And, for whatever reason that discrimination happened, I think that pinpoints to members of my faith and others that the value of looking beyond ourselves and finding ways to appreciate each other and the harm that can come from discrimination. And I'm encouraged by the discussion that's happening here and for the acceptance that I do see in this community. I think there are obviously plenty of points of discrimination that we see in our global community, and any effort we can make individually to break down those points of I guess discrimination would be only a benefit to us.
Yeah, I think discrimination generally is a lack of understanding about the other person's point of view. Generally,
right.
You hear something and maybe you hear it from your parents growing up as a child. I'm thinking I went to college in the '60s in Texas, so there were no blacks in our school, certainly, and we it was they would blacks sat in the back of the drive-in. They sat upstairs in the balcony, and that was my first look at discrimination. And it was hard for me to understand because I grew up in a white community and hadn't had much interest, or connection with anybody of color. And it was surprising that people were treated that way or diminished that way. So I come from that background of that I'm not going to be that way with people. So. All right, we got to take a break. We still got a full half hour to go, and I'm sure this will get exciting as we go along. So stay tuned. We'll be back with more right after the news. 23 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 66 degrees outside. We got the God Squad in the house. We got Bryan, we got Rabi Ed, we got Jody, and Rachel is here as well. And, we've been going around the table talking about discrimination, I guess, probably, is, a quick, easy terminology to use. So we've, as I mentioned earlier, we've come a long way from what we used to be, obviously. I think, and as one of the callers pointed out, your skin color won't keep you from doing anything in the United States that anybody else can do. We're all covered under the law. You may be discriminated against by individuals, but as far as the government is concerned, there's no color. The law doesn't.
You say that, Tom, and in theory, you're right. In practice, not so much. And I'll give you an example. A few years back, the Texas legislature created districts in Texas voting that were found by the courts to discriminate on the basis of race. They were ordered to create some new districts because, and by the way, just last year, the North Carolina legislature discriminated on the basis of race in their voting laws. These are not my opinion. These are what courts have found after extensive examination of the evidence. In fact, in North Carolina, they were quite open about it. It happens in a lot of places. But what's remarkable is that the Voting Rights Act of 1964 had originally said, if you discriminate against race, and you're caught, not only do you have to fix it, but you'll be under supervision of the Department of Justice for any other changes you make because we can't trust you. In the case of Texas, while they were required to fix this, the courts have now ruled under the more Republican judges that they're no longer subject to review in their future actions. So it's as if you commit a crime, and it was that we're going to keep you on probation for a while to make sure you don't do it again because we've seen what you're up to, and now they say, but we're not going to watch you anymore. It may seem like a subtle difference, but it's a big deal. And we had a Voting Rights Act that was what Martin Luther King fought so vigorously for, and the Supreme Court a few years ago on a 5-4 vote along party lines declared that act unconstitutional, especially the part, not all of it, but most of it, and the part that requires monitoring after you're caught in a blatant civil rights violation has been now tossed out. These are the kind of small things that are big things, but it's a complicated conversation. It's not, hey, you black person, go back to where you came from. It's embedded in our law in a zillion subtle ways. And all you have to do is ask Judith Heidelman, who runs the Montana Racial Equity Project. And she does training on this, and she's an amazing person. You should have her in here for a show sometime.
Okay.
And she'll tell you how pervasive, even in Montana, race discrimination is, but white people don't tend to see it. And I could tell you that it's to a certain extent true with Jews as well. There are radio and TV ministers with followings of hundreds of thousands of people who build their ministry on anti-Semitic statements. And I could show you some that would shock you. Using the same memes that were used in Nazi Germany. And they're out there. Fortunately, the people in this room aren't anywhere of that ilk. And, one of the things I have to say, Bryan and I probably are on the opposite side of many, many things. But we had, on this show, a few months ago, there was something that was said. I don't even remember what it was. And we disagreed. And we had an email exchange after that. And I didn't change his mind. He didn't change my mind, but it was so respectful.
Sure.
And such a kind conversation. And that's what I really appreciate about Bryan and others like him. I wish more people would be like that.
All right. We got to take another quick break. We'll be right back with more right after this. 17 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019, 66 degrees outside. I want to remind everybody that Shane and I will be live and in person at the Grand Tree at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Hope that you will make it. We'd ask you to RSVP at KMMSAM.com. Look on the What's Hot bar. Click on the Evening with Tom and Shane, and you will, we need to know how many people are coming so we can have proper seating for you. Don't want you sitting on the floor or leaning against the wall or, out in the foyer looking in the door. So give us a heads up how many are going to be there, how many are in your party, and you can also do it on our smartphone at AM 1450 KMMS. So, all right. Well, we're talking about politicians and discrimination, I guess, a little bit, if we want to expand our purview, to use a Robert Mueller word, of what we see. And well, one of the things that came up, I think, in a lot of religions, we were talking about, that you stay within your own tribe. That I know for years Catholics didn't like people marrying outside the Catholic faith. Jewish probably, I don't know if they do the same thing, but they want to keep the religion within, so that I know the Catholics always said no birth control, have as many kids as you can, because we need to keep the religion going. And but yet as we come along, interracial marriage, nobody thinks much of that anymore. It's common, I think. There's going to be people that are going to say, stay within your own race, but gay marriage is illegal across the 50 states. So we have come a long way in what discriminatory things we're experiencing in America. We're being more open, I think, to various forms of conduct. So, Bryan, any thoughts on that?
I think that idea that somehow God doesn't want, Asian to marry an African or whatever combination you want, stems from just an inaccurate understanding of, there were some of those prohibitions in Hebrew scripture because of God wanting to make sure that the line of the Messiah would be born of the line of David, etc. So you don't have, Hittites marrying Israelites, etc., etc. But that's not really, it's not an issue today biblically.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Rabbi, any thoughts on that?
Well, the most prominent story in the Hebrew Bible on this subject is the story of Pinchas, who there's a Jewish man hanging out with a woman of another tribe. That in the story, which tribe it is changes, and Pinchas rushes into the tent and kills them both for doing this. And it's read sometimes mistakenly as a polemic against intermarriage, but in fact, the issue was about, as is so often the case, about not intermarriage, but is about idolatry. That she was part of an idolatrous tribe, a tribe that did worshipped idols. And the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, is big on idolatry. Not only in ancient times, idolatry represented the worship of idols, but that's like at the children's level of the story. When we talk about idol worship, we're really talking about
envy.
What?
Envy?
Well, that's one kind of idol worship, right? Worship of money, for example. The worship of anything separated from its balancing factor is a kind of idol worship. So there's nothing wrong with having money, right? And accumulating wealth. It's when that becomes the end all and it turns to greed and a lack of gratitude,
right,
that it becomes dangerous. That's just one of many examples. So much of the Hebrew Bible is really concerned about idolatry, which in its simplest form is worshiping a rock. That's the children's level story, because you can't tell children more sophisticated stories. But when you go deeper, and so these stories, like Pinchas' story, is really not so. It comes out in the form of like intermarriage, but that's not the point. The point is we don't want anything to do with idol worship. That's bad, and that's the point it's trying to make. And then we tend to misread it at the children's level, because many of us don't go on beyond that level in our religious education.
Okay. Jody, what are your thoughts?
I'm not sure where to take off from that. Take me.
I know. He sucks all the oxygen out of the room, doesn't he?
I spoke of this earlier with the book of Ruth.
Yeah.
Ruth was a Moabite, and she loved her mother-in-law. And so she stayed with her mother-in-law to care for her, and when her mother-in-law was returning to her people in Judea. And Ruth would have been an outsider, but she was loved by the Boaz took her in, and she became part of the family. But she was an example of the kind of steadfast love that God wants for all people to live in and manifest.
Yeah. Rachel?
I think while each individual faith may encourage building your individual families from the same roots or from the same belief system, I think there's room in all faiths for exceptions to that rule. And I think there's also a responsibility that while we may, in our own family units, have a certain belief system, it's important to look outside of our family unit and look to our neighbors and our friends to examine their beliefs and what their faith traditions bring to the table, and how we can all learn and teach our children from the beliefs of those around us.
All right.
So I guess back to the question of marriage and intermarriage, it is easier to maintain your faith if the couple have the same faith.
Yeah, because your families get together, you celebrate the same holidays, you celebrate the same,
That's
you kind of got the same thing. It's easier to do.
It's
that's
easier,
what I'm
but some people, I believe, are called to reach beyond the boundaries of their faith tradition. And I look at Rabi Ed and his Presbyterian wife, and I see an example of how people can model that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hear she has a Trump bumper sticker on her.
I think I can't go that far.
All right. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 5 minutes for the top of the hour. We're winding down the God Squad here. We've got everybody in the house here. We got Bryan, we got Rabi Ed, we got Jody, we got Rachel, and thanks for all coming today. We got a caller waiting on the line. So, caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Yes, thank you, Tom, for the way you stood up for what was intelligent there earlier with Rabi Ed. He tends to just take over the whole show almost every month. Is there a different rabbi in town that you could invite? And I'll tell you what, back, they have these symposiums or these discussions up at Resurrection Church about once a month, and they invite a bunch of people to come in and share ideas on different topics. And last fall, the second one, the one that Wilmer from the college came to, the first thing Rabi Ed did was stand up and just rake the Catholic. He didn't really say Catholic Church, but he raked the Crusades over the hot coals of history, and it just condemned every. I think the guy, he criticizes other people for not knowing the facts and being fair in the criticism, but with the way he went after the Crusades, there were about 10 or more of them, and maybe even the majority. I don't think the majority of them were bad. What they did, the purpose of the Crusades simply was to go over there and defend Christians who went there because Jesus lived there, and when they went there to worship and walk the way that Christ did, that they were attacked and all kinds of things. And to stand up and just blanketly criticize all the Crusades, and there were 2 Christians up on that dais that day, and not one of them stood up and defended it. They just let him say whatever he wanted to say. But today was a day, I'll admit, Rabi Ed, you had a lot more to say, but I think you're a verbal bully, and you just, but today you had more reason to talk than you ever had. But every show you just take over and impose your viewpoint. You slam, and those 4 women in Congress, I don't see how you can defend them for what they did. You know, I think you're dead wrong on that. And Tom, I just say thank you for defending the president, because he deserves defending in this particular situation. Those women are ugly, and I wish they'd go back to where the heck they came from too. Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right. Any thoughts? Maybe not.
You know, the Crusades that he seems to like, on their way to the Holy Land, they had to get practice for their military. So they'd go into Jewish towns and slaughter thousands of Jews. This is what apparently he's defending. So I don't know. You know, if you're going to defend that, you're going to defend that. I think all of my Christian colleagues have distanced themselves from the Crusades, as they have the Holocaust and other genocides. So I don't know. And you know, Tom, you picked the question, and you asked me about it.
I did. You're right.
I remember last time you were complaining that I didn't have anything to say.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you were pretty quiet last time you were here, so we went.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone defend the Crusades as a religious pilgrimage before. There's religious pilgrimage is one thing, and what happened in the Middle Ages was not pretty.
Yeah, so that's okay. All right, we've got about a minute left here, guys. Any final thoughts? Anybody have?
Tom, it's always great to be with you.
Well, good. Well, thanks.
And I appreciate you and appreciate you hosting the show and bringing in diverse viewpoints. This particular panel here, we span the spectrum from very, very different viewpoints.
That's true.
And, you know, what we do together is try to discover our commonalities and build on those. And I especially wanted to welcome Rachel, who is the new, what's your position now, Rachel?
Sure. I've been asked to play the role of the Director of Public Affairs for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So while I'm not a religious scholar, I'm happy to be here and share my limited understanding of our faith. And
we're glad to have you. Yeah, it's been fun. All right. Well, that wraps it up, guys. We're done. So we appreciate you coming in. Thanks, Bryan. Thanks, Rabi Ed. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Rachel. Nice to meet you. And, we'll see you in a month. If I'm still here.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. That's going to wrap it up. Hey, don't forget, 6 o'clock p.m. tonight, or tomorrow night, I should say, 6 o'clock tomorrow night, Shane and Tom live at the Grand Tree. So RSVP us, if you would, at KMMSAM.com. Look on the What's Hot bar for the... What's Hot bar for an evening with Tom and Shane. And we'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Shane will be here live tomorrow morning, so we'll look forward to that. So we'll see you bright and early, 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.